So for our circuit for problem 1, we need to turn on our LED light with a button and then adjust the brightness using a potentiometer. So for our button, it's connected to ground with a resistor in series, and that's going to act as our pull down resistor. And so on the other side, it's connected to the 3.3 volts, and then it's connected to pin 1. And then so for our potentiometer, we have our low voltage side connected to the ground over here with this orange wire. Then we have our high voltage connected to our 5-volt source with the blue wire. And then where we're going to read it is going to be read at pin 7. And then so over here, we are using a red LED. So our anode right here is connected to ground. And then we're going to read at pin 38. It's a PWM pin, and it's connected to a resistor in series so we don't blow the LED. And then so over here in our code, up at the top, we just define the pin that we're going to be using for our LED, our button, our potentiometer. And so LED is pin 38, button is pin 1, potentiometer is pin 7. And so now here we denote our LED as our output, our button as our input, and then we serial begin 115,200 for our serial monitor. So in our loop, first thing we're going to do is we're going to read whether or not our button's pressed. And so if we press our button, we're going to convert our potentiometer value into the pot integer, and then we're going to use the pot integer and convert it to the brightness for our LED light. And then if our pot reads as low, we're going to print I love Mechatronics even in the dark. And then if our pot's high, we're going to print I love Mechatronics. And then we're going to do a 10 millisecond delay, and then we're going to run again. And then just in case, for a fail proof, if our button's not pressed, our LED is going to turn off. So upload the code. And then we're going to pull up our serial monitor right here. And so now we're going to turn on, and then we're going to, and so as it's on, I love Mechatronics. So our brightness is high right now. So if we adjust our potentiometer to lower our brightness, now we're going to say, I love Mechatronics even in the dark, and our LED's off because of our potentiometer. My attention that my assistant didn't video the brightness of my LED, and so here, brightness is high, and as we go to ground, changing our resistance, our LED is going to dim until it turns off. So using the same setup from problem 1, we have our buttons, and they're going to be connected to ground with a resistor in between in series. And then on the other side of our button, they're going to be connected to the pins for our Arduino. And then over here, we have our 3 LEDs, red, blue, and green. And so the anode of the LED is going to be connected to the ground, while the positive end is going to be connected to the PWM pins on our Arduino with a resistor in series. So now looking at our code, we start off by defining the pins for our LED lights and our buttons. And so we have 38, 39, and 40 for our LED lights, and 8, 3, 13, and 46 for our buttons. So now coming down, what we do right here is we set the counter and the state for the button whenever we use it in our for loop. And we only use counters for buttons 1, 2, and 4. And so here in our setup, we just label our LEDs as our outputs and our buttons as our inputs. Then when we actually get into the loop, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check the state of button 3 or see if button 3 is pressed or not. And so low means button 3 isn't pressed, and so whenever button 3 isn't pressed, then it's going to run through the following code. So first we're going to check the state of button 1, and we're going to do the same for 2 and 4. Remember, there's no counter for button 3. And then right here, it just says the last state in the loop is going to be the state that it was just run through for our reiteration. And then so right here, we look at button 4. So button 4, we're going to change the brightness for all our LEDs. And so for each press of the button, so if it's divisible by 3, then we're going to change the brightness by 1/4, divisible by 3 with a remainder of 1, it's going to be half the brightness, and with a remainder of 2, it's going to be full brightness. So same thing goes for button 1, which is going to change whether or not our red LED is on or off. So if it's evenly divisible, it's going to be on, and if it's not, it's going to be off. So it's just going to toggle on and off with each press of the button. So now button 2, this is when we have either blue on, green on, or both of them are going to be off. So same thing applies. So if it's evenly divisible, we're going to have our blue on, our green off. Remainder of 1, blue off, green on. Remainder of 2, both of them are going to be off. And then whenever we get to the end, we're going to look to see if, say button 3 is pressed, then we're going to turn all of our lights off. Okay? So now whenever we upload the code, so now whenever we press button 1, our red should go on and off. Button 2 should go between blue and green. Both of them off, blue, green, off. Button 3 should turn them all off. And then button 4 should change the brightness. So here we have max brightness, quarter, half, max.